Hi, this is Brian Kim. I want to share with you this case of a patient who was referred by my senior partner with a dislocated IOL. This patient has quite a bit of nystagmus, but he felt like over the years, because of that nystagmus type movement, it caused the lens to become more and more dislocated. Obviously, the patient had to have weak zonules as well. And so this patient comes in with a dislocated IOL, also has a Sommering's ring, which I'll have to remove. And then I'm going to replace it with my modified Yamane technique using the AR40 sensor lens. And then once I have the lens in good position, you'll see that the lens is slightly decentered to the right. You're going to see how I'm going to trim the haptic to recenter the lens. And I'm going to explain why I didn't feel like I have to re-sclerofixate this lens with this particular case. So you can see this lens is dislocated posteriorly. It's difficult to tell in two-dimensional space, but definitely in three-dimensional space, this lens is sitting really far back. You can see a little bit of Sommering's ring, but there's actually a lot more Sommering's ring hidden from you underneath the iris here. And so this is a Wexel sponge. I always like to begin drying the surface and then making my marks. When I'm pretty confident, I'm going to have to proceed with the Yamane technique. But even if I'm not, I always like to make my marks just to be prepared. So this is 27 gauge cannula, ink the tip, and I mark the limbus on the right side and then the left side 180 degrees apart. And this is a fixed caliper from Epsilon. I don't have any financial interests, and I'm going to indent the sclera 2.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus in radial fashion and then 2 millimeters adjacent. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, indenting 2.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus in radial fashion on the left side and then 2 millimeters adjacent. And then I go ahead and ink with the 27 gauge cannula, inking the indentations. You can see nice and radial, very good position on those marks. And this is my angled 1 millimeter paracentesis blade. I'm making my incisions on the right side and then the left side, and these are the incisions to help me externalize this lens. And this is the incision contralateral to my main incision to externalize the leading haptic with the 25 gauge needle passive docking technique. And this is my incision for the AC maintainer. I'm injecting some intracameral epinephrine. You can see there's quite a bit of wobbling of the lens. You can see it's almost like a dead bag appearing type of situation. There's very little capsule bag lens remnants except for that isolated Sommering's ring you can see there. I'm pushing dispersive viscoelastic to protect the cornea. And this is the 3 millimeter blade. This is a triplanar corneal incision. I make a vertical groove, place the blade into the deep part of the groove, and then I enter. And using two forceps, I'm going to gently grasp the lens up. With the teeth closed, I'm going to get underneath the lens. But as you see, there's a large Sommering's ring. So I have to get not only around the lens, but around the Sommering's ring as well. And as I do this, I want to make sure I don't lose that lens. You can see it's really, really tenuous. So then I grab the haptic on the right side, which allows me to stabilize it, and then I grab the optic on the left side, and now I have the lens up and into the anterior chamber. Both haptics are into the anterior chamber. And then I start to cut the lens. I'm going to cut it in such a way that I can Pac-Man the lens out. I'm going to cut the lens only part way, not all the way. This is a silicone lens. You can tell it's rather slick. So it took a little bit of extra effort to cut that last bit of the lens. I'm going to try to grab the lens here, but I can't because, again, this is a silicone optic. So I have to switch hands and use a serrated forceps to pull the lens piece out. So now the serrated forceps are in the right hand, the smooth are on the left side. Going to grab the cut edge on the right side, and I'm going to Pac-Man it out. I'm going to grab the cut edge, pull that piece out, and then rotate it clockwise so I can get the second piece out. I'm holding the lens piece with the forceps in my left hand until I have a better grip with the right hand, and once I have a good grip in the right hand, I let go and I pull the piece out. I'm pushing dispersive viscoelastic, feeling the intracameral chamber pressure, and repositioning the Sommering's ring. And then as I burp the incision out, the Sommering's ring comes out. And the only way that works is by increasing intracameral pressure. This is a 22 gauge thin-walled AC maintainer by Epsilon. I'll go ahead and place it through the incision. And this is the trocar. I indent the sclera about 3.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus. And then tunnel through the trocar needle, tunnel about 3 millimeters, and then I dive down. You can see that the trocar cannula is sitting sideways, which means the sclerotomy should self-seal. Go ahead and start the vitrectomy. And this patient did not have a vitrectomy, so I have to make sure I do a good vitrectomy here. You can see there's quite a bit of vitreous debris flying around as I'm doing the vitrectomy. And I'm really focused on anterior vitrectomy, okay? I'm not going to go deep inside. I also want to make sure I focus on doing vitrectomy in the area of the action. So where my marks are on the right side and left side, I'm paying particular attention to make sure I'm clearing any vitreous in those areas. And that's because I'll be threading the haptics into the needles, and that's where the action is, and you want to make sure that's clear. And so this is the right side needle. I'm bending the needle 9 millimeters from the tip. I'm angling it in such a way that the bevel is facing the main incision. This is the left side needle. I'm bending it at the hub, and I make sure that the bevel is facing towards the contralateral limbal incision. And this is a 25 gauge needle. I'm bending it so that the bevel is facing to the right. All of them are mounted on a syringe full of BSS, because you have to have BSS to make sure there's no bubbles when you're doing the maneuvers. This is the Emerald injector and cartridge system with J&J. This is the lens injector system that's designed for the AR40 lens. I placed some cohesive viscoelastic on the platform, placed the lens onto the platform, making sure that the optic is fully seated before I bend the wings together. When I bend the wings together, the leading haptic goes through the barrel on the front end, and the trailing haptic comes outside of the back end, and you want to make sure that the optic is bending backwards. Place it through the injector, making sure that the trailing haptic is up and away from the barrel, off from the barrel, before you advance the plunger, and you're ready to go. And this is a 25 gauge needle. Again, I'm placing it through the contralateral limbal incision. I make sure both bevels are facing each other. My assistant is advancing the lens. I make sure I dock the haptic on the bevel of the needle. She keeps advancing the lens. This is a twist style progression. As she delivers it, I pull the needle out. The haptic comes out nicely, passively. I take over, delivering the optic, making sure it comes out correctly, and then the trailing haptic is made sure facing to the right side. Passive leading haptic externalization technique using the 25 gauge needle. Injecting some more dispersive viscoelastic to coat the corneal endothelium and to push the optic away. I'm stabbing the conjunctiva and sclera at the first mark. Activating infusion now, getting a nice firm globe. Holding the trocar. Tunneling 2 millimeters, and then I dive down. That's really the most important aspect of this surgery. If you really want to get good, technically sound surgical execution, then you really need to pay attention to the scleral needle technique here. So now that I have the needle in, I'm trying to push the optic away from me, and that's because the AC maintainer is getting hung up on the optic, so I'm just trying to push it away. So again, I'm fussing a little bit, but it's because I don't want to put any tension on the trailing haptic as I place it into the eye. So you see that sideways sweep maneuver. I don't just jam the haptic in, otherwise you'll bend it. I sweep it sideways towards the left, dock the haptic on the bevel of the needle. And you see here I'm having a little bit of trouble, but that's okay. I can just reposition. And so I restart, dock the haptic, and 2 pushes, and I'm in. Anytime you try to dock the haptic on the bevel needle and you can't get in, that means you're hung up on something. You're hung up on the edge of the needle, the sharp edge, it's snagging on the haptic, or something is going on. And that's most likely the case in my experience. So if you get caught, it's because you're not fully aligned, and or the sharp edge of the bevel of the needle is getting caught and snagging the haptic. So that means you just have to start over. Internalize the leading haptic. Holding the contralateral limbal incision, and I'm going to go ahead and place the left side needle, stabbing the first mark through the conjunctiva and sclera, turning on infusion, activating infusion, tunneling 2 millimeters, and then I dive down. And I make sure I dive posterior. You see how I dove posteriorly? And by diving posteriorly towards the nerve and not towards the limbus, I'm going to have hopefully better alignment. at least I'm going to have a nice scleral shelf for the Yamane. Grasping the haptic with microforceps, positioning on the bevel, and by positioning it on the bevel, I'm able to grab it a little bit closer, dock the haptic on the bevel of the needle. You see, because I have great control, and I did that slight pronating maneuver with my left hand, which brought the bevel in better alignment, and then I was able to slide it right in. Pulling the left side needle towards me, and as I pull the needle towards me, the needle comes out, the haptic comes out, and I grasp the haptic with microforceps, limiting how much haptic comes out. Okay, cauterize the tip, get a nice little bulb. Pulling the right side needle away from me because that's the direction it came. Having the microforceps ready to grasp it as it comes out and limiting how much haptic comes out. Again, limiting how much haptic comes out minimizes any stress on the optic-haptic junction. Cauterize both tips, and now I have the flanges ready. Internalize both haptics flush to the sclera. And again, I have excellent position as far as being nice and parallel to the iris plane, but you can see there's slight decentration. And so what I'm going to do is go back, and using that same 25 gauge needle, I'm going to try to find the bulb and pop it up a little bit. And you know, the fact that I really struggle to get that bulb out just tells you that it's really seated very well. It's nice and flat, so I have a nice scleral shelf. And it also means I have a nice small flange, not big enough that is going to cause any extrusion issues, hopefully. So now I pulled it out a little bit. I'm just trying to assess the alignment here. And so that's going to be more of an alignment there. So I'm going to be trimming about a millimeter or so, 1.5 millimeters. So here we go. Just go ahead and grasp the flange and then cutting. Again, about 1.5 millimeters. And then I'll go ahead and cauterize it. And that's it. Go ahead and push it flush. A little bit of blood there, so I go ahead and start again, get rid of the blood, and then flange it. And so this eye is a little bit tilted towards me, so it doesn't look as centered, kind of superior inferiorly, but it is nice and centered. And then side to side, it's got better centration. So I place a 10-0 nylon surgery to the main incision, go ahead and hydrate the incisions, and that'll be the end of the case. So again, this is a patient with a dislocated lens, severe zonulopathy. You saw how much the lens bows backward. My senior partner was being proactive and had me see this patient. The other lens is starting to dislocate as well, but it's not as bad. There's a little bit of pseudophacodenesis on the other eye, but this one had quite a bit, and it was decentered. And so you saw how I was able to grasp the lens, pop the lens bag complex up. Again, in these situations where you have the large bag and Sommering's rings, it's a little bit of a challenge to grab the lens actually in these situations. But luckily I was able to grasp the haptic, pop it up, and then grab the optic and prolapse the entire lens bag complex Sommering's ring into the anterior chamber. I cut the lens in half, and then using a Pac-Man technique, I was able to pull each piece out. And then using a visco burping technique, I filled the chamber with viscoelastic, and then using the technique to reposition the Sommering's ring and having the tip pointed out through the main incision, and then burping, and then the Sommering's ring came out. Otherwise, it's really a challenge to get those big, stupid pieces of Sommering's ring out of the eye. You can see here I'm finishing with the vitrector-assisted PI here. You can have that reverse pupillary block phenomenon that is known to happen in these unicameral eyes. And then at the end of executing the Yamane technique using my modified technique, again, externalizing the leading haptic using a 25 gauge needle passive docking technique. This minimizes any potential damage to the tips of the haptics when you're trying to cannulate it through the 30 gauge thin walled needle. I use the Emerald cartridge, which is for the J&J AMO lens. You always have to make sure the trailing haptic swept away from the barrel. That's when you can accidentally cut the haptic. And you saw the technique of going after the trailing haptic first, docking the haptic on the bevel needle, sliding it in. You saw I have a very nice scleral shelf, therefore nice flat approach on the haptics, flush to the sclera. But you saw in this case I had a little bit of decentration nasally, and so I grasped the nasal haptic, trimmed it, and repositioned it. I'm hydrating my incisions, and you have a perfectly centered lens, and this patient did very well. So again, when you're dealing with the Yamane technique, you have to pay attention to every little detail. And for those of you who don't pay attention to every detail, you're going to run into trouble. Utilizing this lens as opposed to the C2 lens, which is prone to having a manufacturing issue with the haptic spinning within the optic, don't use a lens that might cause you trouble. You don't want this patient to go through another surgery unnecessarily. But therefore, you're going to have to adopt better techniques, gentler techniques, where you can execute this technique using the AR40 lens with PMMA haptics. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I thank you for your attention.